the scope for Indian communities is huge. I already see a few of my friends starting institutes and training programs for community leaders.
The next I know is we were literally sitting down and making an initial piece of strategy for the community. So that's a tip that I thought I can share. Be curious, reach out to people, don't be shy. You never know what comes out of it.
Community is just not about engaging people. It's also about the completing the whole circle, like acquiring the right set of users, engaging them, making sure that they are retaining on the platform, and also distribution of those content that they are creating, and then through those distribution again acquiring the people, so completing the entire loop.
I'm your host, Nipun Goyal. I'm the founder and CEO of LikeMinds. We've gathered to sort of learn something that is very, very close to my heart, where every community builder, I think I've spoken to a lot of them, every community builder today is almost in a state of confusion, and a lot of unknowns are there around how this whole career is evolving for them. In most organizations, they are like the individual team, not having a lot of people in the team, and that's why it's very difficult to imagine the structure and how the career could look like for them. To help you guys with that, we've brought in some, I would say, OGs of this industry. Almost like all three of the panelists have been community builders for last 6-7 years minimum, and they've sort of worked in at least 2 to 3 organizations in as part of the community teams. So I'm sure they can give you a diverse experience share from their own learnings, but they've also been interacting with other community builders in the industry, so I'm sure it can be much more beyond that. So I would like to bring Avni on stage. Avni Parekh. Avni Parekh is community manager who was recently, very very recently, a program manager for community partnerships in North America at Facebook, where her KR was literally to help community leaders to power up their leadership access and impact across different platforms, Facebook's different apps and the whole Facebook platform. She really likes using technology to help the underserved and voiceless, and she's formed communities and platforms to foster empathy and support for women and young people. Her last venture was called Love Doctor, very interesting name, a service to bring confidential sex and healthy relationship advice to youth using chat, SMS, email, where they served about 400,000 young people across the globe. So welcome, Avni. Very very excited to have you here. I'll now invite my next guest, Khushboo Chouhan. Khushboo is an IIT Bombay alumnus. She wanted to explore the world on her own, so she tried a very different field, with different people, and she, after almost like a half a decade experience, she finally found her passion in building online communities. She's ready to mentor or consult companies. I remember when I spoke to her the first time, she told me a lot of good brand names where she was spending a lot of time, and it was all in most cases pro bono. She's someone who is really really passionate about community building, and I've heard that from multiple people like very recently as well. So if you're looking for mentorship, do reach out to Khushboo. Currently she's working as a GM of communities and engagement. Very very unexpected and very very interesting role that she's picked up with a brand we all know, but we would not expect to have community as a big focus, Swiggy. So Khushboo is helping them in building communities, and we'll try to learn more what exactly is she doing in this session. But previously, just to give you more background, she's built community for Roposo, she's built community for BabyChakra. She's launched various city programs, community level programs for Roposo. And like I said, she's consulting a lot of companies in various industries like lifestyle, fashion, women entrepreneur, mental health, crypto, so whatnot, I would say. Thank you so much, Khushboo. It's so lovely to have you today. Without taking any more time, I'll also bring in my final guest for today, Neha Agarwal. Neha is, currently building a very strong and vast community for vernacular languages. I think this is a very unique sort of role that an Indian is playing for a global brand, given how important vernacular is in our country. Uh, I'm sure that's the reason why she has been given this role. So she works at Quora, and she's helping Quora to build these regional, different language communities. And prior to this, with a very, very strong passion to bring people together with a purpose, she was building and driving and engaging and retaining the largest and the only, I'm not sure of only, but I think one of the few, online parenting community, but definitely one of the largest, with 3 million mothers at BabyChakra. I'm sure you all would have heard of BabyChakra. In fact, we have two people here who have worked at BabyChakra. So when we were doing the pre-event catch-up, these guys were like, "Look, we're meeting after a long while because of this." So happy to have Neha, just to sort of tell a little bit more about her. She's very, very passionate about sharing and growing knowledge about community building. Hence, she's also volunteer with CMX India, and she organizes various events for them. She has nearly 10 years of experience in various industries like BFSI, IT, and media in human resource. So she's someone who has transitioned into a community manager role from a human resource professional. So today we've sort of got a very diverse panel where people had different backgrounds before becoming core hardcore community builders. So yeah, welcome Neha. So glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Nufun, and really looking forward to interacting with all of you.
So let me start with Avni. I want to understand in next few minutes around what is the scope of the whole community industry. So we'll come to the role, but I'm just trying to understand how big is this opportunity for, let's say, a community professional in India. What do you think? What does the future lie for, and how is this industry evolving?
I can say, as somebody who's been out of India for a few years, seeing Indian communities grow, that the scope for Indian communities is huge. I already see a few of my friends starting institutes and training programs for community leaders, probably people that you and I both know. I can tell you this, that when I was at Facebook, some of the largest and most active and vibrant communities that had the most active members were from our part of the world. So I think that that's not going to go anywhere, especially post-pandemic, and we're sitting on a gold mine. Community is the future, and it was also the past, right? Like, we are very community oriented as Desi people. So I think that we're hitting our stride to grow even more.
So true. Neha, on this, what do you think? What are the global opportunities? Like, you work with a global brand. I think Avni and Khushboo has also worked for global brands. For a Indian community manager today, what are the global opportunities?
Thanks to COVID, I think a lot of organizations now are very open to hiring for remote resources, and a bunch of them today are not very particular about the resource being based out of a particular country, or the country that the organization could be based out of. So that is number one. I think that's a great trend, thanks to COVID for that. But number two, I think if we from as an Indian are looking for organizations that could be hiring for such roles. I think it's always great to kind of keep an eye on job boards of these organizations, because there are a bunch of them who perhaps want to kind of enter the India market or the APAC market, and there you could come very handy as a resource, right, and could get hired. And that's how I pretty much found my job at Quora. So yeah, a couple of tips where we could typically look for opportunities. Number three, and something which is again growing quite a bit, is getting assignments as a freelancer via Upwork. Right, and that is something that I have noticed as a hugely growing trend, and their location doesn't matter at all. They're looking for skill and they're looking for appropriate experience. I know of a bunch of people who've been able to bag assignments if they're part of these some of these platforms that connect the supply and the demand side. So definitely a great place to be as well to find career opportunities.
Got it. Khushboo, what's your take on this? You've sort of, done everything now in terms of India, then global, then back to India again. How do you see these two sort of roles, for like being a community builder for a global brand versus an Indian brand? Like, where do you draw the sort of lines in terms of, this is different for while working with a global brand versus this is different while working with an Indian brand?
I think the only difference when you work with a global brand is they already have a sense of community. They already have a clear structure. They already have a clear vision of what they want from their community. In India, it's really new. Like people are getting to know about communities now. So they're still forming the basic structure. They're still trying to figure out, what should be our end goal, what should be the ROI of building the communities. So the only difference is this. But I agree with, both Neha and Avni that the opportunities in India is huge, and globally, so definitely it was always there. But India is picking up really well. So I can see that, now the gap is really becoming very narrow. So you can see that, in the coming years, I can see Indian community growing, vastly and competing with the world's community.
Just to add
Awesome.
in, I think, the fact that WhatsApp is now launching communities, it's only proof of putting that communities is absolutely the thing to be, and the future. So great news for all of us, actually.
Yeah. And definitely, like, given, India is one of the most important market for WhatsApp, like adoption wise as well. And, they launching communities on WhatsApp shows that, the Indian market is now probably ready for online communities more than ever. And I think as community builders, I'm sure, WhatsApp is going to build like a lot of opportunities for at least getting better at structuring online communities through that platform, given a lot of audience is already going to be there. Yeah, awesome. I would love to know, what made you all pursue, this profession. Maybe I can start with Neha. Tell me, like, that moment, which made you realize, I could do this.
So I'll just give a quick anecdote, right? I was reading these Twitter threads, and I'm really bad at times with remembering names, but I think it literally happened like that for me, right? If you look at the career paths of community managers a couple of years back, you would see, say, somebody who's doing a barista, somebody who has been, a video editor or something, and then suddenly you see a community manager, position there, right? So the career paths earlier used to be, so unstructured and so surprising, and I think that's pretty much what happened with me. I was at Bloomberg, and I was leading their HR for South Asia, and I think at that point in time I thought, I am done. I think I want to kind of take up a new challenge. I want to do something very different, and I took a break. And we were building a bunch of schools here where I live, and I was helping my father with that process. And as a result, I was reaching out to a bunch of these, platforms that list play schools in the area, and that's how pretty much I discovered BabyChakra. And one tip that I can give you from this entire process is I got curious about them. Obviously it resonated with me because I was in the same business, some similar business, and I thought they were really trying to make a difference. And making our lives easier. And I got very curious, and I just simply reached out to the founders, to Naya and to Mitesh at that time. And I told them that I'm very excited to know about your venture, and I really want to know more. Can I know more? Can I meet you? And that's pretty much how that conversation kickstarted. And I came to know about the fact that they were looking for somebody to build their community. And the next I know is we were literally sitting down and making an initial piece of strategy for the community. So that's a tip that I thought I can share. Be curious, reach out to people, don't be shy. You never know what comes out of it.
Nice. You taking Mitesh's name reminds me of the Zone startup days that we actually were also sharing the same building with BabyChakra team in our first venture. Awesome. How was the case for you, Avni? What was that moment of epiphany for you that this is an industry that you may want to sort of explore at least?
This is a funny question because I started doing this before there was even an industry. So my background, a lot of it is in NGOs, nonprofit work, international development. And all of that work of community change and behavioral change, basically changing the world, requires you to build a community because you need people to come together. And so whether it's building a self-help group so that women can gather savings and change their community, or working in microfinance. Later on, I worked with domestic violence victims, and we would have support groups. All of that stuff was done offline. But what we found is that there needs to be something bridging that time when you're sitting together, having this experience together, because the real support for people is needed in those dark moments when you're alone late at night and nobody's around. You're not at your self-help group meeting. So I started that way, and eventually started also convening these online spaces. So started Facebook groups. Like I used to run something called the Delhi Social Entrepreneurship Meetup back in the day in 2012. Hopefully all of you were born at that time. But so as I started transitioning from offline to online and mixing the two, I realized what an opportunity to scale using digital communities. And so slowly, I just kept having these experiences of digital community building. And I found myself becoming a community builder myself in the digital space. So that's my journey.
Interesting. Khushboo, what was it for you? I remember talking to a common friend the other day, and he was telling me that it required you guys to have like a lot of conversations before you narrowed down that this is something you want to do. So I'm sure it was more of a process-led approach in your case. Would love to know that journey.
So I think, for me, it was mostly trial and error, to be very honest, So once I graduated from IIT Bombay, I was a chemical engineer. I graduated in chemical engineering. So I actually worked in a chemical farm, and I worked there for a year and a half. And then I realized that, this is definitely what I don't want to do. I did not know back then that what I wanted to do, but I did know that this is something which I can't do. So I thought, okay, let me now try something else, because I did not know what I'm interested in, like everyone else when you graduated from college. So I thought, okay, let me start working with startups. I'll try different things. I'll see what I like, and then maybe I'll see as it goes. So I worked with housing.com for a couple of years, and then I moved to Roposo. So Roposo is when actually I started having a sense of community. So at that point of time, they were looking for someone who can lead their city engagement program. That means just expanding Roposo into different cities. And Roposo is a fashion social network. So that means engaging with more younger generation who are into fashion or who wants to get influenced by fashion. So I used to work with college students. I used to travel to their colleges, represent Roposo in their college fest, and just keep day in, day out, keep thinking about, how we can engage these college students. So at that point of time, I thought, okay, this is nice. I like doing that. And then, I connected with Naya. So she said that, Khushboo, we are looking for a person who can help us build community for parents and parents to be. And, you need to make sure that people are there on the app, they are engaging. So I thought, okay, like looks similar to what I did previously. So why not, let me give it a shot. But when I joined BabyChakra, and Neha was my mentor at BabyChakra, and then I realized under her mentorship that, community is just not about engaging people. It's also about, the completing the whole circle, like acquiring the right set of users, engaging them, making sure that they are retaining on the platform, and also distribution of those content that they are creating. And then through those distribution, again, acquiring the people, so completing the entire loop. So that's when actually I started building and understanding more about community, looking into data day in, day out, trying to understand what people like, start thinking about creative ways. And then I realized that, this I really like doing this. I love to talk to people. I love thinking about, funny, creative ways of engaging people. And then I remember I was talking to Neha a few years back and said, I really like this. I love what I do. And then I think at that point of time, I decided that, I think I just want to do this. I can't see myself doing anything else. So that's how I started working with building communities, and right now I just want to share whatever I learned, because I came from like nowhere with a different background. So I just wanted to give out whatever I learned and just helping other communities. I think, that was my journey.
Awesome. So three people, three different moments. I think for one, it was just being curious and finding a very interesting startup that appealed to her. For Avni, it was, I think, a very, very organic transition from offline communities to, using technology to sort of go deeper in the online world. And for Khushboo, it was probably a more sort of process-led, iteration-led discovery for being a community builder.